Good morning. Welcome to News Center Maine's Political Brew. Glad you could be with us. We're joined this morning by longtime morning show host Ken Altshuler and Ray Richardson of WLOB Radio. I can tell it's WLOB Radio because he's got the full banner behind him today. How you doing,
nice
guys?
Touch, Ray. Nice touch.
Lots to talk about, so let's dive in. The bipartisan bill to have the state buy out Central Maine Power and Versant and create a consumer-owned electric utility is aired in committee this past week. Ray, what are the chances this becomes law?
I don't see it. I mean, Governor Mills seems to be very supportive of the New England corridor. Obviously, while they're not necessarily the same company, they are obviously connected, Central Maine Power and the corridor. But put all that aside, this is just such a horrible idea. I'm surprised that some of the people I know and respect are behind it. There was a study that came out over the last 5 years. Government/consumer-owned utilities have a far worse record for reliability, and when you are down, you're down for much longer. Central Maine Power, we know, had some problems, but they've done a lot to make things better. I spent some time with Linda Ball, the customer service person, this past week. They're really working on things. And let's face it, the people that run our roads and bridges, those same folks would be running the state-run utility. It's just such a horrible idea.
Well, whether it should or whether it will are two different things. I would have thought no. They beat it back in 1973, I think it was. That being said, there is a strong sentiment against CMP and this corridor, which I support. I'm surprised at the opposition and how the opposition seems to have some traction, not a lot, but some. There are some consumer-owned electric companies in Maine. I think there's 10 or 11 that are successful, but they're not CMP. 800,000 customers is a lot of customers to take care of. I don't think it's a great idea. I think that CMP has corrected some of its errors. I think that's good. I think David Flanagan was a really good choice to kind of re-steer CMP in the direction it should have gone into. But I think it's 50-50 whether it'll pass or not, because there is this kind of movement that people want to control electric companies. You know, it's really easy to hate the phone company and the electric company.
The Republican Party in Augusta outlined its budget priorities this past week, and they back some of the governor's proposals, such as increasing revenue sharing and 55% funding for local schools, cleaning up PFAS contamination. They're concerned about spending what they say is one-time money with the surplus and federal money, and they're also reluctant about issuing bonds while there's so much surplus available. Ken, those arguments make sense to you?
Well, a lot of them do, and I think the Republicans are smart. I think there's a much higher likelihood that there'll be bipartisan agreement in this budget, which there should be, and we hope for. I think the one-time big money coming in is going to be a huge bonus for Janet Mills. I think that I love the revenue sharing. I'm kind of surprised to see the Republicans pitching it. Bonds, you know, people love bonds in the state of Maine. It's very hard to not pass a bond. I'm not sure that's going to gain traction, but I think the Republicans are setting the right tone for bipartisanship. I applaud them. I think it's a smart political move.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff she is doing that makes some sense. The investment into broadband. I don't agree with her on the issue of there was $50 million for infrastructure. Maybe she's hoping that we borrow money, or maybe there'll be more money coming from Joe Biden. I'm not really completely sure on that one, but I wish the governor would make structural changes to government, and she's not doing it. I believe she has a one-time unique opportunity in a generation with the $2.2 billion to really overhaul how we do government. Angus King had a similar opportunity in 1998 with $350 million. From my perspective, he squandered it. And it looks like to me, Governor Mills is handing out a lot of money, but not really overhauling how we do business.
And of course, Ray, some Republicans are critical of Governor Mills for not earmarking more surplus and federal dollars for nursing homes and long-term care. As we all know, those facilities really took the brunt of the pandemic last year. The administration argues there is more money in the pipeline in the state budgets for fiscal years 22 and 23 and more direct funding available from the federal government. But of course, the people who are involved at the ground level say we can't afford to pay anybody, right?
Yeah, there's no question that all of that is true. And I'm a little surprised Governor Mills didn't do more. She seems to have a reluctance with the nursing homes and assisted care. Joe Baldacci, the state senator out of Bangor, sponsored a bill. I think it's $20 million for nursing homes, $12.5 for assisted living. It is a big jump and it will be a big help, but we've got to do more. We've seen nursing homes close around the state in the last decade because of the inability to compensate people and pay their bills. and we treat them among the lowest financially. The state needs to do better. I don't know if Commissioner Brew is behind the reluctance. I don't know what it is, but we need to do better. Mainers need to demand better from the governor, especially when she has this amount of money available.
Well, I guess the question is how much is too much or too little? I do agree with Ray that I'm a little surprised that Governor Mills is not targeting them for more financial assistance. We are an old state. We all know that. We're the oldest state in the country. So if you want to do this for political reasons, then you want to target the largest voting bloc, which is the elderly, and not just the ones in nursing homes, but people who have families in nursing homes. So I'm a little surprised that she's not doing it. Her answer, as you said, Pat, was there's more money in the pipeline. There's future budgets. We're going to get more federal money. And if that's true, and there's more federal money targeted for these nursing homes, then that may be a political plus and victory for Janet. But I think put more money into it. I think it plays well politically. And I do think it's the right thing to do besides.
We're in a crisis here because of COVID-19. We know the majority of deaths have happened in nursing homes. I don't think the state can wait. We have shafted the nursing homes and assisted care facilities for far too long. The governor needs to view this as a priority and act right now.
Maine, like many other states, has a number of bills under consideration that would restrict access to abortion. One would repeal the expansion of coverage under Medicaid. Another requires healthcare providers to give ultrasounds 48 hours before an abortion can be performed. Now, the chances of passage of these are really small. So, Ken, what's gained by pursuing them, do you think?
Well, I think if you believe that Maine is going more conservative and more people are supportive of abortion restrictions, I suppose you're thinking that it will gain some political revenue for you. The Supreme Court, considering the Mississippi case, is certainly going to have some restrictions on Roe v. Wade. I think they're poised to do that. 6 conservatives. Justice Barrett certainly is going to be a major voice in that. And I think you're going to see the Supreme Court saying we're going to give the states more rights to restrict abortion. That may give Maine, or the conservatives in Maine, a road into some restrictions. And I think the logic may be, let's ask for a lot and we may get some. And that may be the strategy in putting this on the table right now.
Ray?
Yeah, Ken may be right about that. As both of you know, I am ardently pro-life. I don't believe in abortion for any reason. I don't believe we penalize the innocent unborn because of their origins. And so anytime someone's willing to take a principled stand on what I believe is maybe the most important issue in our country, then I'm happy for it. I think one of the things we should be doing here, if I want to be generous, in 1973, we didn't have the science available to recognize that this was a beating heart with separate DNA. Today we do. So the more times we bring this issue forward, the more we try to force people to look at the science and biology available today, I think the more likely it is people will turn against abortion and believe that it is, in fact, an innocent unborn child.
Ray, I just want to remind you that nobody is pro-abortion. The difference between pro-choice and pro-abortion. I hear what you're saying, and I will say that Roe v. Wade was actually not a very good scientific decision in retrospect. Probably it should be cleaned up a little bit.
I agree with you, Ken. It was not a good scientific. It's also a very poorly constructed legal argument that has stood up. I don't know if I agree with you that people are pro-abortion. I think pro-choice is pro-abortion because I'm ardently pro-life.
Well, we'll agree to disagree. How's that?
I love that.
This past week, 35 House Republicans joined Democrats in creating a bipartisan commission to investigate the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Ray, why do you think others in the Republican Party are unwilling to allow this investigation?
I disagree with Senator Angus King from Maine. I saw that he said that maybe Republicans don't want the investigation because things will come out they don't want found out. I don't agree with that. I think that there's a feeling this is nothing but a partisan thing to be used for the election, just in time for the election. Personally, I've said this from day one. I was heartbroken the day this happened, January 6th. They terrorized my Capitol and stained it. But these people were traitors, so I would love to have an investigation. I hope they're penalized to the fullest extent of the law. But we, the people, deserve to know the truth.
And Ken, we don't know how it's going to come out in the Senate. They may well block this. Why do you think Republicans don't want to get into this?
So first, they're going to block it. The Senate, Mitch McConnell says he won't support it. That's going to end the 10 Republicans we need to support this. Even Susan Collins is saying she has some issues, which I don't disagree with. As Ray said, you want it to be bipartisan, but this was a bipartisan panel. Equal Republicans, equal Democrats, also bipartisan staff is what Susan Collins wanted. She wanted a result by the end of this year to not interfere with the election. I agree with that. But to answer your question, Pat, Why does Kevin McCarthy, why does Mitch McConnell contradict what they said on January 6th? When they pointed to the White House and said there's an insurrection, we need to investigate this, it's wrong. I think this is shameful. I'm not sure why the Republicans refuse to do it. If my house was attacked, I would investigate who attacked it. I don't leave it to someone else. I think it's shameful, and I think it's cowardice, and it's the Republicans hitching their wagon to Donald Trump.
I'm going to disagree with that, Ken, because it feels partisan. I would love for an independent organization to investigate this. I just want the truth. We know part of the truth. This was Trump supporters. I know people want to say BLM and Antifa were there, and maybe they were, but this was Trump supporters. These people, in my mind, were traitors. I want to know why a 14-year military veteran who swore an oath to defend the government and protect the Constitution was storming my Capitol. I want to know those things. But we're not going to get this from a partisan witch hunt. We need a true independent investigation.
Ray, the 9/11 Commission was a partisan investigation made up of the same configuration that this is proposed to be. You can have a bipartisan panel within Congress, and Congress was attacked. Defend your house. Do your investigation yourself. Don't rely on somebody else to do.
Ken, I agree with you, but the circumstances were different. We were attacked by an outside enemy. This Capitol was attacked by Americans, and I think it's going to be used for political reasons.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. The district attorney for Androscoggin, Oxford, and Franklin counties wants Maine lawmakers to decriminalize prostitution. Andrew Robinson says it would acknowledge that people caught up in human trafficking and sexual exploitation are victims rather than criminals, and it would target traffickers and people who pay for sex instead. Ray, does that make sense to you? Is that a good idea?
It makes no sense. I mean, you can say when you arrest these people and recognize that these women, largely women, although some men are trafficked, that we're holding them harmless. But when you decriminalize prostitution, you're making a value statement. You're saying that in certain circumstances, our society believes it's okay. I just don't understand that.
Ken?
I agree with Ray to a certain extent. But let's be honest. Prostitutes are the victims. They are absolutely victims.
I agree.
No one goes into prostitution because they really enjoy it. The problem is you have to target who is cultivating this. The ones who put them in sexual slavery, the pimps, and the johns. If you're willing to make those individuals pay large prices for prostitution, that may make it more palatable. But let's not attack the victims. I think you have to make it criminalized, but I think you can make the victims less criminalized than the people who are perpetuating it.
Let's wrap up with our winners and losers in politics this week. Ken, we'll start with you.
I think the winners is going to be the tourist industry in the state of Maine with the relaxation of mask mandates. I think we're going to see a huge influx in the tourist industry. I think we're going to have a tremendous recovery. I think there's funds available to help boost them up both in the state and federal. And I think Maine will benefit from that. The losers of the week, the Republicans in the Senate, who are going to block this investigation into the January 6th insurrection. Shame on you. When your house gets attacked, you defend it, you investigate it. It's cowardice. It's hitching your wagon to a tired old king who wasn't reelected. And it's time to put an end to this and take the facade off what really happened. And let's find out what really did happen.
And Ray, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Ken on the winners. Freedom is being restored here. Masks are gone. We're getting back to normalcy. The day after Fenway Park announced full capacity, I opened my show at 6 a.m. with Sweet Caroline because I can't wait to hear it at the ballpark. So we're the winners because we're finally overcoming this and we're getting back to normal. Look, there are no losers. We're all Americans, and it's the greatest thing in the world to be.
All right, that's going to do it for Political Brew this week. Thank you both for being with us. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. News Center Maine is back after this.